لا سيما إذا فعلت أفعالها وأقوالها على حضور القلب والنية الصالحة، وإذا جعلت رسما مشهورا نفعت من غوائل الرسوم نفعا بينا، وصارت شعارا للمسلم يتميز به من الكافر، وهو قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم: العهد الذي بيننا وبينهم الصلاة، فمن تركها فقد كفر. ولا شيء في تمرين النفس على انقياد الطبيعة للعقل وجريانها في حكمه مثل الصلاة، والله أعلم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي الكريم محمد وآله وأصحابه أجمعين. Imam Rahmatullahi alayh, after Iman Billah and Bisifatillah, because Iman is the base and the foundation. So after that he talked about Iman philosophically and in a philosophical way. So now he is talking about Ibadat, because next to Aqaid or next to Iman Billah is the Ibadat. Ibadat are the practices, deeds and actions which will take you nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the utmost important ibadah is prayer. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he says in hadith, as-salatu imaduddin, فَمَنْ أَقَامَ فَقَدْ أَقَامَ الدِّينَ وَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا فَقَدْ هَدَمَ الدِّينَ. That salat is the backbone of deen. So whosoever he will keep it or straighten it, or he will establish it, so he established deen. And whosoever will say bye-bye to prayer, so he destroyed deen or demolished the deen. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, Inna awwala ma yuhasabu bihil mar'u yawm al-qiyamati as-salah. That the first ever thing a person would be put to accountability on the day of judgment, that is the prayer. So it means that if somebody's prayer column is empty on the day of judgment, may Allah forgive and forbid, so it means that the guy has lost his credit. And as you know, that if somebody loses his credit here in America, neither he can buy a house, nor he can buy a car, nor he can do anything else, because he lost his credit. So it means that on the day of judgment, if somebody lost his credit because his column of prayer is empty, so it means that he is in a big trouble then. So Imam Rahmatullahi alayh, he says that the salat and the prayer, that has its own secrets or asrar, and the utmost secret is that naturally human is inclined to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why human doesn't matter whosoever he is, what culture he is living therein are attributed to, but he has the concept of God in one way or the other, and he is inclined to God in one way or the other, either through a divine religion or through a man-made religion, like Hindu mat or Sikh mat or Buddha mat or Jain mat or Manavi mazhab or Zoroastrian culture or something like that, because concept of God is everywhere in every culture. And why it is so? Because this concept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put in the very nature of human. So Imam Rahmatullahi alayhi says that naturally human are inclined, and especially Muslim, they are inclined to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they want to be in touch with Allah. Otherwise they will be living in trauma. To be out of that trauma, they have to have a connection with Allah. And this connection he can get through ibadat. And in ibadat, salat is the much more important. Why? Because the purpose of ibadah, to show your humbleness, not only to show, to demonstrate your humbleness. Yes, and to believe in the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why you are standing in a khuzu and khushu in front of Allah like this. Then you are bowing down. Then you are putting your head on ground. Now, head is the king of your body. You are putting the king of your body to the king of the universe. And that is the thing which will take you close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a hadith narrated by Imam Tirmizi, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that when a sahabi asked him that when someone is much more nearer to Allah, what condition and what form? So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, أقرب ما يكون العبد إلى ربه حينما يكون في سجوده. That the utmost closest form and condition of a slave of Allah to Allah is when he is putting his head on the ground to Allah. So there is no closest form of a human to Allah than the form of sajda and the condition of sajda. So the one who is doing a beautiful sajda in front of Allah, he is much more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now here, Imam Rahmatullahi alayh, he is mentioning 8 benefits of prayer. How many? 8 benefits of prayer. So number 1, he says that prayer, that is mi'rajul mu'min. What is mi'raj? What do you say? This word, mi'raj. What sigha that is? What is mif'al? Inna lillahi. Isme Allah. Yes. So mi'raj is actually the tool of uruj. Isme Allah mean? The tool of uruj. Yes. The tool of ascension. Or the tool of climbing. And that's why in Arabic the ladder is called mi'raj. Ladder is what? Ladder is mi'raj because that is the tool of uruj. You are going to the rooftop or to the hilltop through what? Through the ladder. So mi'raj is the ladder. So Rasul, number 1, Imam Rahmatullah alayhi says, was-salatu mi'rajul mu'min. That salat and prayer, that is the ladder of a mu'min through which he can climb to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Got it? Mu'iddatun للتجليات الأخروية. And prayer is, look at me, prayer is such a thing which will prepare you or which will make you for the tajalliyat and lights and shu'a and waves of akhirah or the rays of akhirah. You will receive the signals on the day of judgment because you were very much committed to your prayer. And one support, as Imam Tirmizi narrates, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked by Sahaba, كيف تعرف أمتك من بين سائر الأمم يا رسول الله? From Adam alayhi salatu wasalam to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, 124,000 prophets and messengers, they will be having their own ummahs. So in such a huge and big gathering, how you will recognize and know your followers or Ya Rasulullah? Got it? Some distinguished mark. What? Distinguished mark. Visible distinguished mark through which you can recognize that this is my follower. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Hum ghurrun muhajjalun min atharil wudu. Ghurrun muhajjaluna min atharil wudu. Yes. Wudu bidhammil waw. And wudu bifathil waw. What's the difference?
What is the amal of wudu?
Wudu, that is actually the action you are doing, the fa'al and the amal. And wudu, the bil fath or bi fath al wa, the water which is used for wudu, that's called wudu. Wudu is the water which is used for wudu. The used water, that is called wudu. Got it?
Yes.
And that's why the fuqaha says, وَلَا يَصِحُّ الْوُضُوءُ بِالْوُضُوءِ وَلَا يَصِحُّ الْوُضُوءُ بِالْوُضُوءِ. Yes. Make it clear. Distinct it with dhamma and fatha. وَلَا يَصِحُّ الْوُضُوءُ بِالْوُضُوءِ. That the water which is used for wuzu. Yes, here's the water. And you are gathering it in a pot down. You are making wudu. That's called al-ma'ul musta'mal. That's called. What is the mazhab of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi regarding my mustamal? No, I told you, Maulvi Yusuf, next time I will bring a stick. Yes, because you are a alim. The itlaq of alim must be a alim. Yes, Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi say, wal wazu tahirun la mutahhirun. Wal wazu tahirun wala mutahhirun. That the used water of wuzu, that is pure itself, but it cannot purify. Yes, you made your wuzu, the used water you gather together in a pot, another guy cannot make wuzu with that water. Got it? Because that is tahir, but not muttahir. That's tahir, but not muttahir. So anyhow, Mu'idda Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, hum khurrun muhajjaluna min asar al-wuzu. Abu Huraira was relating with asar al-wuzu bi fath al-waw. Yes, Abu Huraira, he was relating it with what? Bi fath al-waw. And that's why when he was making wuzu, so he was doing like this. When he was washing his face, so he was doing like this. Yes, and when he was washing his hand, so he was doing up to here. He said, hum khurrun muhajjaluna min asar al-wuzu, that the used water of wuzu, whatever part of your body has been touched with, that will be shining like a full moon on the night, on the day of judgment. So he said that instead of shining only this area should be shining as well. And up till here, why not up till here? Got it? And he was washing his feet up till here. Got it or not it? That was his personal interpretation of whom? Abu Huraira. So anyhow, mu'iddatun lit-tajalliyat al-ukhrawiyah wa huwa qawluhu sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now when Imam rahmatullah alayhi says that it will prepare you for tajalliyat akhirah, so where from he got the idea? He said hadith narrated by Imam Muslim. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, innakum satarawna rabbakum. Indeed, you will see your Lord on the day of judgment. Fa in istatatum, if you can do, Allah tughlabu ala salatin, now to get defeated, not to get defeated. Allah tughlabu ala salatin qabla tulu'i shams, not to get defeated by the prayer which is before sunrise. Means salat fajr, not to be sleeping and miss it. That's what the defeat is. Wa qabla ghurubiha, and before sunset, which is salat asr, which is Salat Asr, faf'alu. So do that. So it means that if you are committed to Salat Fajr and Salat Asr, so for sure you will be having the Tajalliyat Akhirah. And number two, وَسَبَبٌ عَظِيمٌ لِمَحَبَّةِ اللَّهِ وَرَحْمَتِهِ. And prayer is a major cause for the love of Allah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And where from Imam says, I got the idea that the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that أَعِنِّي عَلَى نَفْسِكَ بِكَثْرَةِ السُّجُودِ, that help yourself with lot of sajda. Help yourself with lot of sajda. And number three, وَحِكَايَتُهُ تَعَالَى عَنْ أَهْلِ النَّارِ. The third fayda or the third benefit of prayer is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is relating the story of the people in fire on the day of judgment, that قالوا ما سلككم في سقر. How they are? ما سلككم في سقر. قالوا لم نكن من المصلين ولم نكن نطعم المسكين وكنا نخوض مع الخائضين. That the people in Jahannam, they would be asked that what has brought you here to this blazing fire? So they will admit, لَمْ نَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ, we were not praying. وَلَمْ نَكُنْ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ, and we were not feeding the poor. Imam Waliullah rahmatullahi alayh, in one of his book, he said that on God's side or Allah's side, prayer is the much more important thing. And on creature side, feeding the poor is the much more important. And he did istishhad by this ayah, لَمْ نَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ وَلَمْ نَكُمْ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ. And number four, وَإِذَا تَمَكَّنَتْ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ وَإِذَا تَمَكَّنَتْ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ إِذْ مَحَلَ فِي نُورِ اللَّهِ وَكُفِّرَتْ عَنْهُ خَطَايَاهُ. And when this prayer takes place in the nature of a human or in the nature of a slave. So how it takes place? That he has become that much used to, that he is very much upset if he does not pray. He feels relaxed when he starts prayer. So that is tamakkun salat min al-abd. That now that has become his nature. Prayer has become his nature. وَإِذَا تَمَكَّنَتْ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ إِزْمَحَلَ فِي نُورِ اللَّهِ. So he is lost. Izmihlal is actually zof. Izmihlal is what? Zof. But izmahala fi nurillah, that he became hal in the light of Allah. He got lost in the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا تَمَكَّنَتْ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ إِزْمَحَلَ فِي نُورِ اللَّهِ وَكُفِّرَتْ عَنْهُ خَطَايَاهُ. And his sins are washed out from him. And Imam says, where from I got this idea? وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفَيِ النَّهَارِ وَزُلَفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ ذَلِكَ ذِكْرَى لِلذَّاكِرِينَ. That good deeds like prayer, it will wash out and wipe out your sayyi'at and your bad deeds. And number 5, وَلَا شَيْءَ أَنْفَعُ مِنْ سُوءِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ مِنْهَا لَا سَيِّمَا إِذَا فُعِلَتْ أَفْعَالُهَا وَأَقْوَالُهَا على حضور القلب والنية الصالحة. Imam Rahmatullahi alayhi says, because prayer, look at me, that is consist of aqwal and af'al. You say things and you do things. In prayer, what we are doing? We say things and we do things. When you will say it properly, what is to be said there in prayer, and when you did it properly, what is to be done there. So Imam Rahmatullahi alayhi says that nothing is much more beneficial than this type of call and this type of fail, when you focus on it and you have a full sincerity. And number 6, وَإِذَا جُعِلَتْ رَسْمًا مَشْهُورًا نَفْعَتْ مِنْ غَوَائِلِ الرُّسُومِ نَفْعًا بَيِّنًا. When that has become an apparent rasm. Apparent rasm means that it has overtaken your life. Prayer has overtaken your life. So when that has become an apparent rasm of you, so it will give you a very visible and apparent nafa and from min ghawail rusum, from bad habits and bad rusum. And number 7, wasarat shi'ara lil muslimi yatamayyazu bi min al kafir. And prayer is actually the symbol and sign of recognition or distinction of a Muslim from kafir. وَهُوَ قَوْلُهُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And wherefrom I have got this idea, that this is actually the distinction mark of a Muslim from non-Muslim. That Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Al-ahdu allazi baynana wa baynahum as-salah. That the ahd between us and non-Muslim is, or the distinction between us and the non-Muslim is the prayer. فَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا فَقَدْ كَفَرَ. So whosoever will leave the prayer, so he become kafir. He become kafir. Mean that not to pray, that is not the sign of a Muslim. To pray, that is the sign of a... So if he does not, in our village, that was before my birth, because I am born after partition. So before partition, the whole India, Hindus and Muslims, they were living in that area common. Yes. So my grandfather once, he told me that here was one Hindu. One Hindu. He said that his name was something else, but he was called as Kimya Baba. He was called as old man, Kimya Baba. He said, very nice man. He was a Hindu, Kimya Baba. He said that people were sitting, yes, the Hindus and the Muslims and things like that. So the azan was done and closed by masjid. So some Muslims, they stood up and they went for prayer. Yes, and the Hindus were sitting there, but some Muslims who were not committed Muslim and not praying committedly, they were sitting there. So he said that Kimya Baba gave them a good message. He said that, brother, azan is given. What? Azan is given. We didn't go there because we are Hindus. We didn't go because we are Hindu. And the Muslims, when they heard azan, so they went to masjid. Yes. So you people didn't go to masjid, so it means that you are not Muslim. But we know you that you are not Hindus as well. Yeah. So introduce yourself. Who are you? He said that those 3 guys, they said in our lifetime, we never missed a single prayer after that. That when Kimya Baba told us this, that we know you that you 3 are not Hindus. God, but you did not go for prayer with Muslims, so it means you are not Muslim. So can you please introduce yourself, that who are you? Got it? Now look, he was a Hindu, but this concept which is given by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is the distinction, or that is the sign of a Muslim. Kimya Baba in his old word, he mentioned it, that this is the sign of a Muslim. So anyhow, and number 8, ولا شيء في تمرين النفس على انقياد الطبيعة للعقل وجريانها في حكمه مثل الصلاة. If you want to put, look at me, to put your nafs in a good way, so you have to give him a constant exercise. To give him what? A constant. And Imam Rahmatullah Alayhi says that there is no more good exercise than the exercise of prayer, to put your nafs on the right track to go towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khairi khalqihi Muhammadin wa alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Bismillah. Yes, sir. What?